Hello everyone. We're going to look at the new type idiom and how it relates to the orphan rule. One of the things you'll find as you progress with Rust is the ability to use the correct terminology, and that's ever important, particularly with AI, because if you can provide the correct terminology, the correct phrase and a prompt, then that's going to save you a lot of effort as well. So the orphan rule, you can implement your trait on someone else's type. You can implement someone else's trait on your type. You can't implement someone else's trait on someone else's type. So you can do one, but not both. And if we look at 14.7 in the Rust book, gives compile time guarantees that the right type of value is applied to a program. So it's kind of like a wrapper. You can have, for instance, here, they're using an i64 to start with, but then they wrap it with years. So here we go. Uncomment the last print statement to observe that the type supplied must be years. So it's a way of assigning your own type or your own name to an existing type, or a type that you've got from elsewhere. So let's just run this. Should open up in Playgrounds, is it? Maybe not. In which case, let's just copy it. And I'll go new type. Do I want the latest version of Rust Analyzer? As always, I do. Running on quite an old machine here, so forgive me the slowness of the machine. Let's run that. Okay, so we know it compiles. This is quite, I don't know if it's a good habit or bad habit. What do you think? But I'm quite in the habit of, if I'm copying and pasting code, I just compile it first and then go back and study it. There's no point studying if it doesn't compile. So that's my thought process. So we got years, days, and then we want to 2 days. So we're converting days, which is self.0, because we're using a tuple string, times 365. Okay, that all makes sense. So it allows us to use years and days here. So that's what the book says, but I find the sorry, wrong screen. I find the Rust in a month for lunches a bit more intriguing, really, because of this orphan type. So let's go a bit further and actually look into the orphan rule a bit more, and let's also see what Claude says. Okay, so explain the Rust orphan terrible typing projects. We'll use an example. Claude 3.7 Sonnet. I don't know about you, but I actually prefer Claude to ChatGPT. The orphan rule in Rust is a coherence constraint that affects how you can implement traits. So you can implement your own traits or any external types. You can implement external traits for your own types, but you can't do both. So let's say we're working on the standard library's display trait and the vec of some type T, both of which are defined outside our crate. So this is the orphan rule coming up. The compiler will reject this because we're trying to implement an external trait for an external type. As always, let's not take anybody's word for it. With code, I think you always have to try yourself, especially with especially with AI. Let's just check it. Only traits defined in the current crate can be implemented for types defined outside of the crate. And that's error 0117. And probably this is something I don't do enough. I don't know if any of you do it, but it's a good practice to get into. There we go. In fact, if you pipe this to, what is it? I pipe it to bat, I think. It looks way nicer. There we go. Only traits defined in current crate can be implemented for arbitrary types. Erroneous code example. Okay. Right, let's go to the working solution. Here are two ways to work around the Orphan rule. The newtype pattern, or as it's called in the book, the newtype idiom. I don't think we really care whether it's a pattern or idiom, to be honest. So it's a wrapper type around the external type. So we got a vec of I32s. So we put the wrapper, which is int vector, around it. This is allowed because int vector is local to our crate. Why is it local? Well, because it's in the same, because it's in main. We'll just test that. And there we go, works, compiles. Wrappers are, the more you work with anything related to AI, you'll find that wrappers are just everywhere. So if you come from Python, you'll be familiar with wrappers and decorators and so on. So int vector is local to our crate, our local new type wrapper around I32. So I just wanted to cover that. It's something which I was aware of and I'd read about before, but I just thought I'd make a quick video about it. And yeah, just kind of, what was it they say? If you can't explain something, you don't understand it. So create a local trait and implement it for the external type. So that's the opposite of what we did here. We had a local type. So implement it for external type. The external type, so the trait pretty print is local to our crate. Vec I32 in this case isn't. So we've got a local trait and a non-local type. I think that's right. So the Orphan rule is an important part of Rust system that ensures global coherence while allowing for flexible code organization. So I just thought that'd be useful just to cover the Orphan rule, so you can kind of basically remember the Orphan rule alongside the new type idiom. So that's a new type as a kind of a wrapper, but you can also just do a new type where the type is, you're just renaming an existing type, whereas here you're creating a wrapper around an existing type rather than just creating an alias to an existing type. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense, and thumbs up if you like these videos, and be back soon. Thanks for watching.